The Red Sea crisis is having an impact on shipping costs.
And this as last year we saw the escalating attacks on commercial shipping vessels traveling through the lower Red Sea. Now some shipping groups have opted to reroute traffic as the situation remaining tense. Some ships are being diverted around the Cape of Good Hope, increasing their journey time by, in some instances, up to 2 weeks. Let's look at the impact that this is having now and discuss this with political economist Dr. Lumkile Mondi. Thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it, Dr. Mondi. Let's start talking about the economic impact that we have seen through these Red Sea disruptions on the global economy.
Thank you very much for having me. Firstly, it is quite important for us to highlight the historic importance of the shift in the trade route. Remember that the Cape of Good Hope was a consequence of exactly the difficulty of accessing the eastern countries, and therefore an alternative way had to be found. And hence we saw the settlers coming in 1652 and over years moving inland. So I thought that history is quite important for us to understand that what we've seen in the past few weeks, where about 12 to 15% of global trade which travels through the sea has been disrupted, and therefore many ships are going back to that route, which is historical for us as South Africans, particularly the settlers that find themselves here. And secondly, what is important is the length of period or the time that it takes to access Singapore and other eastern markets. If you go through the Cape of Good Hope, you're looking at about 12 days. So therefore, it means that the cost of shipping are going to rise, whereas we're seeing inflation coming down, we're going to see prices going up, inflation also rising as a result of price increases. So therefore, the outlook really for the global economy is very worrisome, given that we've just come out of COVID, and then we had the Russian the European war where Russia and Ukraine are engaged, which pushed energy prices up. They're now coming down, but this war is bringing more cost, but more uncertainty as well to the economies of the world.
Especially when you think about, consumers as well and businesses around the world who are also likely to face, as you say, higher costs, but also some delivery delays and what this could mean for their businesses as well.
Absolutely. Remember, some have already lost a lot of money because the Red Sea itself, today, there was an attack in one of the shipping lines. So the insurance costs have gone up, and we know that many of the reinsurers, not only are they impacted negatively by the cost of this war taking place across the world, but also the risk that pertains to lost income as delivery lines get longer, with the cargo spending more time at the sea, and in the process therefore being passed on to consumers. So for consumers, really, it's going to mean a huge challenge. However, I think it's important also for us to stress the point that if South Africa had its house in order at the port level, we'll be having quite a lot of bunkering opportunities and marketing those to many of these shipping lines, given that the infrastructure is there, but unfortunately we have mismanaged it, and therefore this opportunity is going to be missed by the port operations, particularly South Africa, which could be recovering some losses given what has happened to the trading infrastructure in South Africa.
And it's quite a loss. I mean, you think about the fact that even, in December, we're reading reports suggesting that there were some inquiries for bunkering services, and we were not able to provide, some of these services. And because our ports are in the state that they're in right now, it is a hugely missed opportunity.
Absolutely. So, I'm hoping that with the changing geopolitical space, as we have seen last week, last Thursday, where South Africa is reasserting its authority, power, its influence, particularly around issues of sovereignty, issues of human rights, of justice, and equality. that is driven towards national economic development, which has a huge focus internally of investing in infrastructure, both rail infrastructure, road and rail infrastructure, which links us to our biggest market, which is the African market. Therefore, I'm hoping that our leadership uses this opportunity and this new honor, which has mobilized millions of Africans, that is possible for us to take back all the losses in the past 8 years and create more value and assets for us as South Africans, but also for the rest of the world as well as the rest of the continent through intra-Africa trade.
Especially because, I mean, you think about the fact that some of these, ships could take up 2 weeks and it could impact the flow of the goods as well. And we then become a critical player that then comes in to try and alleviate some of that particular pressure. But apart from the infrastructure and everything else that we've seen that is not working there, what do we do in the meantime right now as a matter of urgency to be able then to cash in here? Because this might also be good for us, especially on the economic front.
So we need to send the message. I think our leaders are going to do that in Davos this week. To send a message to the international community that we're investing in infrastructure, both inland as well as ports, but more importantly also that we provide a very safe environment for bunkering. But going forward also, as we're exploiting our transition, particularly with gas going to become a very important source of our base load, that we're looking for partners as well who will be suppliers and help us in building floating infrastructure to enable us to exploit all the inherent gas that we can find. But hoping that the DMRE as well is working very, very hard to put South Africans into their confidence in terms of working through a transparent process of exploiting some of the gas reserves that we know exist in the southern and western part of the ocean, so that as we transition the country, we're using our potential and working with many of the ship lines as well, particularly the huge ships that move gas in the transition, that we're also looking at exploiting the gas that exists, particularly in the West Coast, given that Namibia has found quite a lot of gas in there, which really presents South Africa a huge opportunity. Invest in infrastructure both in land, at sea, but at the same time, we transition towards a much cleaner and greener industrial policy framework going forward to create jobs, to address unemployment inequality, and therefore improve the lives of South Africans and the rest of Africa.
And one certainly hopes that, we can see some movement on that part because, as some economists have said, that this is really a market that can be exploited as a matter of urgency and try and boost our coffers as well, and also put us in a position to be able to help and to build some relations, as you say. But let me thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it, Dr. Mondi. That was political economist Dr. Lumkile Mondi.